I took the unbearable mess of shoes outside our house and transformed it from this to this. And in the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how. It's amusing how insignificant things like where you store your shoes become an issue when scaled up. When it was just me and my wife, it didn't really matter where we put our shoes. Most home improvement stores have a solution that houses 8 shoes. In my case, even if I buy 8 of these, it won't be enough. Well, if I buy 8, it will probably be enough, but it's 8. I have way over 60 pairs of shoes that I need to store and allow easy access for a 5-year-old. I built this cheap rack that was just big enough, but it didn't help with the mess. The kids didn't even bother to try and put the shoes back. They just tossed the shoes in the general direction, usually knocking a few off in the process. And the smell, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about a pile of shoes. So, requirements for today: enough room for the entire inventory, easy access for kids, closed, as cheap as possible. There are a lot of fancy solutions when it comes to storing shoes. It doesn't matter. You need a cupboard. And that's what I'm going to build today. I designed what I wanted and went to a local carpenter that cuts wood according to personal plans. They go over the plan with you and determine the layout. Then they price you according to how many pieces of wood, how many sheets of wood are needed. Edge banding and stuff like that will be in addition to the price. Like I mentioned on my previous video, pro table cuts cannot be beat at home. Not to talk about edge banding, which I've never even tried to do myself. If we break down the options you have when creating something using plywood sheets, we can take this project and the previous one as test case because I basically sent a single order for the 2 projects. There are 3 options that come to mind. You buy the raw sheets, you cut and build it yourself. This would have cost me 1,000 shekels. This option entails getting the sheets home. The raw size of a sheet is too big to get in your car, to get into an elevator, or to carry yourself for that matter. Make plans, have the sheets cut down to size, but I need to schlep them home and construct the actual cupboards. This would cost you twice as much you would have paid for the raw materials themselves. 2,000 shekels. Have someone build a custom cupboard. Now, the cupboard is custom because we are building a shoe rack, and there are specific sides of the actual depth and specific amount of how many shelves I want, and actually specific distances between the shelves. And in this case, my estimation is it would have cost me twice more, 4,000 shekels. If you buy a regular cupboard from IKEA, or even if you order a custom cupboard that a carpenter has made many of, it may be a bit cheaper, but not a lot cheaper. Definitely more expensive than option number 2, cut the sheets down to size and you construct it yourself. I have built cupboards before a few times in the past. Building the actual cupboard box is easy. Getting the doors positioned in place requires a high level of expertise I do not have. So this time I designed 3 separate jigs that made the entire process of constructing the cupboard a breeze. Come and have a look. So for this project I made 3 jigs. The first one is pretty simple. It enabled me to position 2 pieces of plywood perpendicular to each other. And I also made these holes that are positioned directly in the center of the thickness of the plywood. And then it was easy to just drill holes and insert the screw while the jig was connected. It was a bit hard to disconnect. So if I redesigned this, I'd make the holes just a little bit bigger, easier to disconnect after the screw's been inserted. And another thing I would have done in hindsight was make 8 of these. Then you can position the entire box from top to bottom and just make all the holes, insert all the screws, be finished in no time, and it would have been positioned perfectly. Jig 2 and 3 have a very important role. Here we have a cupboard hinge. The cupboard hinge has 2 pieces. One is connected to the cupboard box, while the other is connected to the cupboard door. Now these need to be perfectly aligned for the door to both close correctly, but to be parallel to the other door. Usually what I've done up until now, and it's worked terribly, I've kind of eyeballed it. So I connect this part to the cupboard door, and then I'd hold the cupboard door in place and make the holes for this part on the actual box. Now, thankfully, these hinges have a few screws that enable you to calibrate the actual door. It can push the door in and out, up and down, and even to the sides. If you build the box in a very accurate way and then position these perfectly, no calibration is needed. So this is where these two jigs came into place. One jig helped me position exactly where the holes need to be on the cupboard door, where the other one is to position this part on the cupboard box. There was only one complication. The way I designed it was that the piece of plywood that would be part of the box needed to be free at the ends before I could use the jig, because it kind of slides on top of it. So if I would have built the box and then tried to use the jig, I couldn't. I could have worked around this and I could have designed this in a different way, but doing this before I create the box, it was perfect. I just needed to slide this onto the plywood piece, position the two holes, and I was good to go. Definitely recommended. There are things like this online. This was so easy to design and it worked wonders. Highly recommended. Is how to position handles. So handles have two holes each, and the trick is that you need to drill the holes, and you can't directly mark the holes, because once you put the handle on the cupboard, there's no access to the actual holes. So the trick is to apply some masking tape, some duct tape. It was at this point in the video that I went into a long monologue explaining a clever way to accurately position the handles. I started out strong, but the demonstration didn't go the way I planned, to say the least. Pretty much went downhill from there, and I ended up with a couple of crooked, wobbly handles. Really, it's just like the worst I've ever done, ever. I'm pleased to notify you that this cupboard has existed for well over 3 weeks, and the kids are still putting back their shoes every single time they come home. I'm very proud. Do we have an issue with shoes? Yes. Not talked about it, but we have too many shoes in this house. We've got an issue with throwing them away. We've got an issue with buying them when we don't really need them. I know. Will this ever be solved? Not until it's too late. Until then, I'll keep burying the problem in extravagant cupboards with loose handles. I hope this video and the one before gives you inspiration to try and make things easier for yourself by doing it yourself. Thank you for your time.